All right, we're live. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Lede Family Live. I'm Jason Lede, be your host this evening. Looking forward to sharing all of our new release wines, our December club releases, some really nice stuff in the lineup tonight, and looking forward to sharing some insights. We'll have Travis Bullard, our winemaker for Cliff Lede, join us shortly to talk about the Cliff Lede wines. I'll kick things off by talking about the new Fell releases, and then we'll have a wonderful evening tasting through these and sharing some insights. But before we get started, I just want to mention a couple dates, couple things coming up. First and foremost, certainly most important, the holidays are coming up. We all know that. And Monday, December 16th, this Monday, will be your last day to order if you want anything special from us to share at your whether it's your Christmas celebration or New Year's. We may be able to sneak something in for New Year's, but please get those orders in if you want to have a great bottle of wine from us. Give us a call anytime, email. We'd love to make sure that you've got great wine on your table for the holidays, many of which we're going to talk about tonight that are perfect for those holiday meals. So Monday, last day to ship. Now, moving beyond that, March 1st, 2025, we would love to see you out here at the winery. We are planning a new fun wine dinner, something we haven't done before. It's going to be sort of a Mardi Gras inspired dinner, Mardi Gras inspired food, maybe some music. And our director of winemaking, Christopher Tyne, will be there to host that evening. I unfortunately will be overseas working on some sales opportunities for the winery, so I won't be able to join, but we would love to have you join us on March 1st for the Mardi Gras dinner. And the last thing is looking pretty far out into July of 2026. We are actually putting together our first ever wine member cruise. This is going to be sort of around France, the south coast, and cruising through into Spain and hitting multiple stops along the way. I will personally be there to host that. I'm very much looking forward to it. We'll do some excursions to visit some wineries and do all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm looking forward to sharing more information about that. But I know, it seems like a long ways away, but as we look at making plans over the coming months and years, we wanted to let you guys know first and foremost that you'll have first dibs at that. Very much looking forward to it. Now, that's long enough covering the basics. Let's get into tasting some wine. I am going to start things off tonight with the 2019 Fell Wines sparkling wine. And let me adjust this a little bit so we can show off that beautiful label. This is a sparkling wine made in the traditional method, so the method champenois, which is how most champagne is made. All from the Savoy Vineyard. So one of the greatest vineyards, of course, from the Anderson Valley, a vineyard planted to both Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. And we're really loving what we're getting from this wine because that is a cool climate vineyard, and it's perfect for sparkling wine, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay. And this is the only sparkling wine from the Savoy Vineyard that I'm aware of that has ever really been produced. So it's kind of a very unique thing, very special. This particular vintage, the 2019 vintage, was of course a great vintage. We've spoke about that at length on this program. But this vintage is 60% Pinot, 40% Chardonnay. So certainly some of those nice rhubarb and maybe some red toned strawberry fruit coming through on the nose, but there's a lot of freshness here. This is certainly a style of sparkling wine that evokes more vibrancy than say your richer or even sweeter styles. There's only a very tiny amount of dosage added to this wine, only 2 grams of dosage added per liter, which I don't want to get too technical, but that's very, very low addition, meaning that you're really getting the crispness and the vibrancy of the fruit and the vineyard coming through in this wine. And well, let's taste it. Let's see what we think. Again, wonderful brightness on the palate, a nice creamy note as well. So there is some neutral oak fermentation here before things are aged on the lees. This spent about 10 months on the lees, so it has picked up a little bit of that yeasty quality. And then 3 years in bottle before we disgorged it. So We put a lot of love and care into producing this wine. Perfect for your holidays. It's 12.5% alcohol, so it's nice and light and not something that's going to, put you down for the night. Only 157 cases made, so small production on that, and $75. $75 for a great bottle of wine from a very unique place. Even if you're having a fun night with your friends doing some blind tasting, this would be something fun to throw in there, because of course they're probably going to guess champagne, but then you show them, hey, look what California can do. We can make great sparkling wine as well. So a little bit of that remaining. And if you're interested in adding that, of course, we got Christmas coming up, New Year's. You want some bubbles for New Year's? This is a great bottle to share with your friends. So let us know if you're interested in that. Also wanted to mention, if you have any questions, comments, what are you tasting tonight? Let us know. There's a chat function there. It should be working. If it's not, someone will likely text me and tell me that it's not working, but please use that. We'd love to hear what you guys are up to. We likely have members of our team here tonight as well that can perhaps help answer questions, but that's what we're here for tonight, to make this as interactive as possible. Moving on, we're going to taste two Pinot Noirs from opposite ends of the Anderson Valley. So I'm going to start in the south end. This is the Ferrington Vineyard Pinot Noir, 2022 vintage. We'll have Travis Bullard join shortly to tell us a little bit about 2022 from his perspective in Napa Valley. But this was a fairly warm vintage, drought conditions, so early ripening. Because of that, we ended up picking most of this fruit towards the end of August and into the beginning of September. So while there was some heat here in California, as you may have heard later in that first week, towards the end of the first week in September, this was actually all harvested before that. So again, all the fellow wines are always just evoking this lovely freshness and vibrancy. I certainly get that here. There's that like cherry pie quality, some raspberry, even some red currant there coming through, and tons of spice. I mean, this is the Ferrington Vineyard. This is down on the south end of the Anderson Valley, where things are a little warmer. It's a little further inland than, say, Savoy, which is just north of Ferrington. And then we'll do the Wendling next, which is about as far north as you can get in the Anderson Valley. And so because of that strawberry, cherry, that was kind of like pie filling notes, tend to come through in this wine year after year after year. That said, this stylistically is very true to the region. There is no new oak being used on this wine, so you're not going to pick up this heavy vanilla, toasty, coffee ground thing. It's just very pure. It's very much about the fruit, and very versatile. So if you do any kind of like roast chicken, pork dishes, I love these wines with grilled salmon, like just light fish like that. They work really well. So lots of options. Again, holiday meals coming up. This wine certainly has a lot of versatility, and certainly a crowd pleaser. Again, without being a big, over the top style. 12.9% alcohol. So really focused on freshness and aromatics. I have to tell you, every time I come back to these 2022s, they're just getting better and better, with a little bit more bottle age, a little bit more integration. All those flavor qualities I mentioned, they're all still there on the palate. Even that little bit of rhubarb that I mentioned with the sparkling wine, I actually get a little bit of that here as well. But this is a very lifted wine. Lifted, bright, tannin profile is soft. It's not something that necessarily needs to be, stuck in the cellar to soften. It's more just about giving it time for those aromatics to develop a little bit more, and giving it time for the wine to integrate a little bit further. But really delicious. Again, $75 as well. Single vineyard wine from Ferrington. This is a very respected site in the Anderson Valley that plenty of highly respected producers work with. And so 215 cases, tiny production, very rare. Again, a fun wine to share. So hope you guys enjoyed that. And we have one more fell wine that's going to be included in the Wine Club shipment this month, and that is the Wendling Vineyard Pinot Noir. The Wendling Vineyard, as I referenced just previously, is situated up in the north end of the Anderson Valley. And when I say the north end, I mean quite exactly that. It is the furthest north vineyard within the entire appellation. Once you go beyond Wendling, you're almost at the coast. I think it's 3 to 5 miles off the coast. So a lot of that coastal air, that coastal influence is felt here. But interestingly, this vineyard sits above the fog line. So while Ferrington and Savoy sit below that fog and maybe stay cooler throughout those mornings, the Wendling vineyard feels that sunlight early in the day and throughout the day. So we tend to see the fruit develops a little bit of a thicker skin. And this wine always brings a little bit more structure than, say, our Ferrington or our Savoy Pinot Noirs. On the nose, it's got a little bit more spice to it to me. Maybe I'm getting a little bit more of the like tart, like cranberry, maybe not tart cranberry, but cranberry, ocean spray. If you had like that kind of cranberry cocktail, I'm getting a bit of that, certainly. The notes here list cedar and gingerbread. That sounds like the holidays to me right there. A little bit of pomegranate, but certainly for me, I'm getting a ton of that cranberry. It's really nice. But again, this wine tends to have a little bit more structure, a little bit more power than our other Pinot Noirs. It is 13.6 alcohol, so it's going to have a little bit more, like I say, a little bit more oomph. If you're a fan of more classic style, maybe Sonoma Pinot Noirs, this is probably more for you because it does have a little extra ripeness on it. But that doesn't mean that it's a big over the top wine. This also saw no new French oak, so you're not going to get any of that vanilla or toasted qualities, as I mentioned before. You just get a really pure, focused expression of fruit here. I would say the Ferrington has a little bit more breadth of flavor right now. Several different things popping out to me. This is very focused and does one or two things really well. This might be one that, if you forgot about it for a year, would really come into its own. Maybe this time next year, it'd probably just be spectacular. Or give it some air. These bottles were all just popped maybe about 15 minutes ago before we logged on. So I could see this tomorrow being even more open and more inviting. So $75, 143 cases. Again, on this. Hope you guys enjoy it. And that will be it for our 22s, for our Fell wines, for our wine club. So glad you're enjoying it. See, Carol is enjoying having the 18 Ferrington. Love it. Love it. I mean, great vintage with 2018. Again, Ferrington Vineyard, exceptional site. Glad you're enjoying that. And I guess it's time to move on to Cliff Lede Vineyards. I've had Travis patiently waiting here to get on the program. He loves joining, loves talking with you guys. So we're going to bring him on and we're going to start talking Cliff Lede Vineyards. And we're going to jump back to the 2016 vintage to start things off. But before we do that, Travis, why don't you say hello and give us an idea of what's been going on here at the winery and how you've been lately.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me back. I missed the last one, so happy to be here. Yeah, we've been busy at the winery. We're kind of wrapping up the 24 harvest. So we just finished, everything just finished secondary fermentation. So all the primary fermentation where we convert sugars to alcohol was finished, within a couple of weeks of harvest. And now we're in that secondary fermentation where we're converting the malic acid to lactic acid. So that takes a little bit longer, usually around like a month. So everything's done. Wines are barreled down. They're in the cave, going on their storage in barrel, and they're kind of all tucked away, which is nice. It's a good feeling for us.
Very relaxing for the winemakers.
Everyone in the cellar can take a big deep breath, and we're doing lots of cleaning.
Yeah, lots of cleaning, but a relief also because it was a good vintage, right? Like you've gone through it all now. You're seeing the wines like put down the barrel, and you're like, you know what, this is a great year, and we're grateful for what we got. Yeah,
the fruit came in really beautiful. Tasting the wines in tank, like after they went through fermentation, like we were really happy. Like they showed better in the tank, better going down the barrel than we even anticipated when we brought the fruit in. So that's always like a really pleasant surprise, and we're really excited for the 24 vintage.
Nice. Well, we will talk about 24 more in a couple years when those wines are being released. I guess the first will be the Sauvignon Blanc in a little over a year and a half from now, I guess. So that'll be exciting. Or no,
less
it'll
than
get
that. It's gonna
bottled.
be like
Yeah, it'll
April.
get bottled in January. So bottled in April, released at the end of April. What am I talking about? Let's talk about Cabernet.
You got Fell on your mind.
Let's talk about Cabernet. We've got beautiful 2016 Stag's Leap District Cabernet library release. Pulled this one out for our members here. And so let's take a trip back in time. Look at the color on that. That looks beautiful. There we go. 2016. What was going on in 2016?
Yeah. So this is kind of like coming on the tail end of a lot of really incredible vintages. We're in the drought years, so very dry winter, warm spring, early bud break, very small concentrated berries, but a really beautiful growing season. Not too hot, warm. Really allowed like every winemaker to kind of pick their style and go forward with it. You know, there wasn't any no big like logistical hurdles going through the growing season outside of making sure that you're able to irrigate at proper times to keep the canopy healthy and keep the vines ripening. Because we were, coming through the drought year, that's kind of, always a concern is water. So, like really beautiful vintage, able to achieve really nice ripeness on these 16 wines. I mean, they're very explosive, powerful wines out of the gate. If you remember, right, when we bottled those and we're tasting those early, like they were such powerful dark wines. So
we'll get in there and taste it, because that is exactly what I just experienced. This has a lot of power. It's still coming off like a primary young wine, but not in a sense that it's not approachable or enjoyable right now. It's just, you said explosive. I'm like, that's exactly what this is.
Yeah, it's still like evolutionary, youthful on the palate. So this is tasting great now, but there's still years to come before this wine peaks. Stag's Leap District always has that. The Cabernet from Stag's Leap District always has the tension between the red and black fruits, and I think you picked this up here. You got lots of red currant and blackberries, mission figs, and then also some really beautiful spice on this.
I was gonna say, this has got the trademark like graphite pencil shaving thing that we always get on our estate here.
Yeah, smoked cardamom.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Smoked cardamom. I'll write that one down.
Yeah, and the nose, I mean, there's so much lift on the nose. We added, so this blend is about 80% Cabernet Sauvignon. There's 10% Merlot, and that's really giving like some really beautiful like roundness on the mid palate, like kind of plushness. I mean, the Stag's Leap District Cabs, they're always so silky tannins on the palate and polished, but that Merlot just pushes it a little bit wider on the palate. And then there's about 10% Petit Verdot also in there, and that's driving like all the base notes. So all those really like, exactly. Like some of the floral, like kind of like violet characteristics in there, and like grilled meats, like that's kind of picking up it with the Petit Verdot.
That's what I'd want to eat with this one.
Yeah,
grilled meats. It's pretty straightforward. Make your famous burger recipe, open this bottle, get a great ribeye or whatever you're gonna do. But wow, like this is exceptional. I think this is one of those wines that you probably don't want to have too many people over, because you're going to want to have a glass of this while you're cooking. You're going to want to have a glass of this with dinner, and then you're going to try this 2-3 hours later when you're just relaxing in front of a toasty fire or something like that. You just like really dive into this wine and see how it's just blossomed throughout the evening, and then maybe save a glass for tomorrow. That's usually almost impossible when a wine is this good, but it is one of those wines that would be interesting to see how it evolves with some air. This is great. I mean, this is in a wonderful spot. We're 8 going on 9 years age on this at this point, and yeah, just a testament to the vineyards that it comes from, the winemaking team. You guys did a wonderful job. We made 6,700 cases of this. I highly doubt there's even 10% of that left. It's likely one of the wines that we're locking up for the library. So happy to offer this out to you all, and hoping that you're going to enjoy this over the holidays with your friends and family, or just your significant other. Like I say, we might have magnums. If you need a bigger bottle, you let us know. We can look into the library for magnums too. But if there's not any questions about that, looks like we're cruising along, which is all good. Wonderful. Love going back to taste those older vintages. But we'll jump into the current releases and start with our 2022 Rutherford Cabernet Sauvignon. This would be the second vintage of the Rutherford. So excited to see how this bottling has evolved. Why don't you speak a little bit about the 22 vintage, because the next two wines are coming from that year.
Kind of similar, like warm like February, March, like early spring temperatures. So same, like early jump to the growing season. Dry, so very small berries, small clusters, low yield. We saw across the vintage, pretty much from every site on 22 vintage. And yeah, like a really, moderate warm growing season until we came to, harvest time. And then that, we saw a Labor Day heat spike, which we always, oftentimes we can see a heat event like that, like around Labor Day. But, in 22, it was a little bit warmer. So we kind of had the decision, like, how are we going to handle all the fruit coming into this heat? It wasn't a surprise to us. Like we saw it early on the forecast. And so we basically started picking. We decided, we were going to get out in front of it and we were going to harvest everything. And we were happy going through the vineyards, tasting the fruit, seeing the flavors that we had already developed in that first week of September. And so we kind of pulled the trigger and green light go. And we ended up harvesting, pretty much as fast as we could. And our harvest was compressed down to basically like a two-week window.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And so it felt crazy going through it. We had a lot of trepidation when we decided to make that call to start harvesting so early. But on the backside of it, we're really happy with the decisions that we made, and tasting the wines. Like, we feel strongly and passionately about the wines that came out on the other end and how we handle that harvest. So very happy.
This is delicious. And, kudos to the team. You guys stylistically made some decisions here that resulted in just exceptional, high quality. This is just like bursting with flavor, approachable. A lot of red fruit here I'm getting. It is very reminiscent of the 21 to me, although those vintages were quite different. I'm still getting a lot of the elements I got up from the 21, which was that like slightly softer, I guess. And maybe that's the Rutherford quality that we're seeing in our bottlings versus, say, our Stacked Leap or our Oakvilles, which have a little bit more structure. This is just quite delicious.
Yeah, the Rutherford's kind of interesting because we source for this 22 Rutherford, we source from two different vineyards. So one like completely on the west side in a canyon up against the foothills, and then we got another vineyard that was on the east side, basically just off of Silverado Trail. So so it's not a single vineyard site. It kind of it's pulling from two different sites, and we don't. This is I think the only wine where we really kind of have a vineyard on both sides of the valley. So it adds a little bit of complexity to this. I think you get you definitely get that Rutherford dust. There's like kind of a gravelly, a loamy soil character to it. And then there's really beautiful red fruits and strawberries that like is reminiscent of the 21. This wine has with us picking early, there's really beautiful natural acidity. There's an elegance to the wine that's very unforced. And I think this specific, the Rutherford's very focused on the palate, right on the center of your palate.
It's just one I call it quaffable, I think is the word. It's just you don't really have to worry about this one too much. Open it up, enjoy it. It's almost like the as I was saying with the Wendling Pinot, it's like what it does right, it does really well right, but it's not this, expansive cornucopia of flavors. It's like 2 or 3 things that are just like boom. They're solid, they're delicious.
Yeah, laser focused,
good acidity. Yeah, wonderful wine. Nice vintage for us, being that again, and this touches into the style of Cliff Lede Vineyards. I mean, we don't look to hang fruit out for months and months and months to get this like outrageous level of ripeness where the wines are just going to be big jammy fruit,
right.
goopy wines. We want elegance, we want some freshness, and so a vintage like 22, as you just referenced, like we were fully prepared for this, ready for it. It was a breakneck pace in the winery, but the winery is set up for that.
Right.
We could process fruit faster than ever with our optical sorters. And so, we got through this and we made some exceptional wines, and also got some exceptional scores on the 22s, not on the Rutherford. We didn't submit that for scoring, but I think Rhythm got 95 points recently from James Suckling, and many of the other wines also scored in that high 90 range. So looking forward to seeing what of course, what you guys think about the 22s, but we'll see more critical acclaim come out in the coming weeks and months. So,
question. There.
Yeah, question. Carol's looking for, is it from Cliff Lede owned vineyards? I'll let you
not the Rutherford. These are two grower vineyards that we source fruit from. So we have a Cliff Lede vineyard in Calistoga when we made that appellation wine. But not in Rutherford. So these are vineyards that we went out and sourced fruit from.
Yeah, to Travis's point, this series of wines, the Vineyard Selection Series, is about finding great vineyards that aren't necessarily world famous like Tokelon or Poetry, that are vineyards that we feel can achieve a high level of quality that could be in, $100, $200, $300 bottle of wine, and we deliver them to you at a beautiful price that delivers quality beyond what you would normally see at that price point. So that resonates through from the Rutherford to the Howell Mountain, our Oakville Cabernet. That's the purpose of this series of wines that, again, we only offer to our wine club. We do this for you guys. I mean, the winemaking team loves it because they love working with Cabernet and love making wine. And so they get to, try different things. It's not just all Stag's Leap District, although that's, of course, the most important appellation to us. But that's what's behind these wines is just finding these great little sites and offering them to you at great prices that give you a wonderful wine. So speaking of estate vineyards, that's where we're going to shift for our last wine, of course, which I'm very excited. We are now in our second vintage of Rhythm Cabernet Sauvignon. Of course, the Rhythm Vineyard, Travis and I are looking at it right now. It just sits below the winery on our estate here in Stag's Leap District. 37 acres planted to all 5 of the Bordeaux red grape varieties. Although we have a couple little half acre of Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon on this vineyard. But this wine is meant to showcase this site. So, of course, Poetry is our greatest wine coming from our greatest vineyard, that beautiful 20-acre hillside that we can also see out the window here. But our approach in making Rhythm is just like Poetry. The only difference is where it comes from and where it's grown. So 2022 Rhythm, the second vintage of Rhythm. Travis, what do you think?
I mean, we were so happy coming off of the 21 vintage with this. We were excited to see like, are we gonna match that? Is this vineyard? We worked with this vineyard obviously since the inception of Cliff Lede. So the quality wasn't a surprise to us. We've seen these blocks come in year after year after year. But putting the blend together, you're never quite sure quite how it's going to go. But I think you can kind of, at this point, we can kind of say this wine is going to be, it's going to hit on all levels consistently. So 22 is no different. Like we said, the idea is kind of showcasing this vineyard, showcasing the fruit, It's very elegant wine. We're not trying to cover up anything. We're just trying to let this site show through in the wine, just like what we do with poetry. So this is 85% Cab. It's 11% Petit Verdot, and then a little bit of Merlot and Cab Franc. So a really nice blend, predominantly Cabernet Sauvignon. Yeah, just really, really beautiful fruit. I think that's kind of what sticks out on this. Just like the Stag's Leap District Cab, red and black fruit, cassis, blackberries, black cherries, lots of cigar notes coming through, from that Cab Franc. Lots of coffee from a little bit of the Petit Verdot. Just really nice, overall, elegant, complex, youthful wine.
Absolutely youthful. I agree with you on that. This is showing a little tighter in the moment compared to, say, the Rutherford. But the funny thing, this wine is named Rhythm, and rhythms are, of course, so many different things. But there's almost like a wavelength to this wine, like a rhythm to this wine, where as it hits the palate, there's like a juiciness, that acidity, that freshness you referenced about 22 is certainly there. And then the fruit rolls in, and then you start feeling some of the tannin and some of the textures of the wine, and then that extends through the finish. I mean, this is a serious wine, and I think that when I think about how you compare this to other wines in the portfolio, I mean, it's to me such a broad step above what the Stag's Leap District Cab was, and is so distinctly different than what poetry is.
Right. And
I'm just so thrilled that this vineyard finally kind of has its own bottling. And I think I said that this is 37 acres. It's not a small vineyard. It's not a tiny site by any means. But we only made 1,300 cases of this. So just like poetry, it's about making and putting the best of the best into the bottle. And so really thrilled with the reception on the 2021. Of course, thank you all so much for supporting that dream and purchasing that wine and enjoying that wine. The 2021 sold out sooner than we ever expected. That is why the 2022 is being released a little early. We didn't think we'd send this out until February, but here we are in December, and we're ready to send it out to you all. And I know, of course, you are all ready to receive it. So we deeply appreciate your support in that, because that's what's helped us get this wine launched and really get the message out there. And we're just thrilled at the reception it's had. Again, great scores on this wine, highly collectible. Because the 22 vintage was one of those warmer, kind of drought-driven vintages, just not a lot of production. So a little bit smaller on poetry, rhythm. Pretty much all the wines across the board were a little lower production. So if you like them, I think they're certainly collectible, and hopefully this momentum of rhythm continues for us.
We got another question.
Sure. So Carol, alcohol percentages. So Rutherford hits at 13.8%.
Same with rhythm. They should,
13.8. I think the 22s are kind of 13.8-ish across the board.
Yeah, that was a result of early harvesting.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a good conversation to have, because I think our perspective has always been to make wines that are balanced, right? So if the vintage is going to give you this, you might get a little bit riper fruit, and it might actually be a better representation of what you get from that vintage. And what I've seen from you guys is a little bit more focus on elegance and refinement and perfume, and the wines are now drifting a little bit closer to 14, 13.5, into 14.2. That level seems to capture our estate and our style, I think, better than, say, pushing things to 15 or 15 plus, which are fun wines to drink, and certainly some of those older vintages that were from warmer years are still holding up nicely and fun to drink. But do they truly capture the essence of poetry, of rhythm? I mean, the direction here is really to focus on what makes us unique, and it's our estate vineyards. No one else gets these grapes. No one else works with these sites. So how do we best put that in the bottle and relay that message? And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like that's what you guys have been able to capture in the bottle here. And
and
lovely.
Within Stag's Leap District, both Rhythm and Poetry are very warm sites.
Mm-hmm.
We're on the northeastern corner of the district, and these sites have more exposure to sunlight than someone that's tucked kind of inside of the valley in Stag's Leap District. So that lets us get that helps aid us in harvesting earlier. That we're not, when we say we're harvesting earlier, we're not picking underripe flavors. Like I think especially in 22, like the hallmark of that vintage is this like ripeness, this ripe fruit character. So when you're tasting these wines, like when Jason's saying like, they taste elegant, it's, what we're kind of referencing is that there's really beautiful acidity. There's lift in the fruit, but there's no like cloying like overripe sweet flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So the wines come off as balanced, but without any kind of like green or peppery notes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't catch that in any of these wines. So we are fortunate that, where we're situated is pretty ideal in cool years, in warm years. And certainly with the way that we, manage our vineyards and how you guys work so closely with Eric and the team. I mean, you guys know when to make the decisions and when to bring things in and how to, and as I mentioned, how to process the fruit through the winery. That's such an overlooked step sometimes. Not so much what you're doing, but how you do it, how quickly you can do it. I mean, to get fruit from the crush pad through the destemmer, through the sorter into the tank with that optical sorter. I mean, you guys are just ripping that stuff through. And it's all it's all gravity flow. I mean, it's just the tanks fill up and you've got these pristine berries just resting and then fermentation kicks off. And, to being able to do that efficiently in a vintage that is compressed is like tantamount to your ability to be successful in a year like that.
Yeah.
So, it's a great advantage that we have as a small family winery and having such a dedication to quality is having access to tools like that. So hopefully that answered your question, Carol. We kind of went down the rabbit hole on that one, but it's questions like that lead to discussions and topics. And I think it's important to of course be as transparent as we can and offer as much information as we can in these live events. So that pretty much does it for wine. I don't know. We probably got all the questions. Yeah, cheers. I know we didn't even cheers yet. You got anything fun going on in the holidays?
Family. Yeah, we're gonna be at home opening presents on Christmas morning with the kids. We got a 1-year-old, so it's that first. It's the boxes and the wrapping papers. The excitement. He doesn't really care what's inside.
How many kids do you have now?
This is four kids. This is an ongoing thing. You guys are in on now. We've got 4.
4 kids.
All boys.
I mean, how do you organize who gets to open first? Is it just a what do you anticipate?
We take turns. We do we do a circle.
Okay, so dad's still in charge of. You still got control of that. That's good. That's good. Well, my family will be taking off to get into some warmer weather, so we're looking forward to that. But of course, we will be getting together, sharing some great wine and some great food. So I hope you're all doing that as well. We got a question here though, real quick before we kick this off. We've got temperature at the winery. We are both wearing coats. We are.
It was sitting, this morning it was 45 degrees in the winery, and now it's probably 55, so it's cool.
Yeah. It's cool out today. It was a pretty rainy, soggy day here in Napa, which was great. And we've had good rain to kick this season off, and some nice warm days too, throughout the past week. But this is kind of how it is here this time of year in Napa. I love this time of year. I always encourage people to come and visit. We'd love to see you because the colors outside are beautiful. The hills are starting to turn green. And when you do get that sun peeking through, it's just magical. Mm-hmm. So I got the jacket on, but I'm not shivering. I'm from Alberta, Canada. I know winter. I know cold. This is about as good as it gets for winter. So anyway, thanks for the question, Carol. We look forward to seeing you. yes, we are teaching those kids patience as I am working on that with my boy as well. But thank you all so much for joining tonight. Yes, Carol, we will see you next Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that. That is going to be a great tasting. And anybody else who's thinking of coming out, like I say, let us know. We would love to see you. Holiday deadline Monday, Mardi Gras dinner, March 1st. Check that out. And then, of course, the member cruise in July of 2026. We hope you're going to be there to join us. But thank you so much. We won't take any more of your time. Travis, appreciate you joining. And we'll see you guys next time. Cheers.